Section 6. Crowds form, roads fill. The moment her fingertips brush the hem of his robe, time slows. Not in the dramatic way the world imagines, but in that deep, soul-stilling way where silence becomes holy. You feel it too, like the hush before a soft rain, like the quiet in a room when a newborn breathes for the first time. She doesn't cry out. She doesn't fall to her knees. There is no flash of light, no thunder, just stillness. And then, the pain is gone. Gone. The ache that pulsed beneath her ribs for over a decade, the heaviness she carried through each dawn and dusk, vanishes like morning mist in the warmth of sunlight. She knows it before her mind can make sense of it. Her body knows, her spirit knows, and she freezes. Because this healing, this holy reversal, it's not imagined, it's not symbolic, it's real. You look at her, and she is no longer bowed. Her posture eases, her jaw unclenches, her breath, deep, free, fills her lungs without effort, as though she's taken her first true breath in years. But her joy is fragile, sheltered under the fear of being seen. She wants to melt back into the crowd, disappear with her miracle tucked silently in her heart. And yet, that's not what happens. Because just a few steps ahead, Jesus stops. Mid-stride, mid-conversation. The crowd presses forward, but he halts. He turns, slowly, and the people hush. You hear him ask the question, simple and calm. Who touched me? It's not an accusation, not a rebuke. It's an invitation. The disciples glance at one another, puzzled. One of them chuckles nervously and says, "Master, the crowds surround you. Everyone's touching you." But Jesus doesn't move. His eyes scan the crowd with gentle purpose. And she knows. She knows he knows. Not just that someone touched him, but that she did. She tries to shrink into the folds of the crowd, but something within her, stronger now, clearer, won't let her run. He felt power go out from him, he said, and she felt it enter her. Two currents meeting at the edge of a garment. Two realities intersecting in one holy touch. You watch her tremble, not from pain, but from awe, and from the deep fear that maybe she's overstepped. Maybe she's taken something she didn't deserve. Maybe he'll undo what's just been given. Still, he waits. He doesn't look impatient, or confused, or upset. He looks expectant, as if he's waiting not just to know who touched him, but to see her, to draw her out from hiding. You feel her step forward before she even moves. Her body stills, her fingers loosen, and then she takes one step, then another, until she stands just within his gaze. The crowd watches. No one speaks. She bows low, knees pressing into the dust, head bent. And in a voice that barely breaks above a whisper, she tells him everything. Not just that she touched him, but why. What she believed, what she tarried, what she feared, and what happened the moment she reached for him. Her words fall like petals into the silence, each one sacred, each one honest. You stand beside her. You hear your own heartbeat. And then he speaks. Only a few words, but they gather her like arms around the soul. Daughter, your faith has made you well. Daughter, not stranger, not woman, not unclean. Daughter. You see it wash over her like rain after drought. The kind of name that restores more than health. The kind that speaks to belonging, to identity, to love. He doesn't ask her to explain her past. He doesn't question her worth. He simply calls her healed, and his. He adds one final word, go in peace. And somehow she knows how. She knows how to walk now, not as the broken one, but as the beloved. The crowd parts, not from fear or dismissal, but as witnesses. Witnesses to a quiet miracle that unfolded not with shouts, but with a whisper, and a touch. You follow her as she steps away, a little straighter now, a little steadier. And though the road is full of people, she feels for the first time in years that she belongs among them. She doesn't need to touch him again, because something in her has already changed.
Section 7, called Daughter at Last. The word echoes long after the crowd moves on. Daughter. She turns the word over in her mind again and again as she walks, not away in retreat, but onward in release. You walk with her down the path, past olive trees whispering in the afternoon breeze, past villagers who no longer seem threatening, past the dust her own healed feet stirred gently into the air. Daughter. No one had called her that in years. She was that woman, the sick one, the unclean. But now, she was known, named, claimed. Daughter. Not a title she asked for, not a label handed down by others. It was his word. Spoken once, but reverberating through every hidden place in her heart. You glance at her and see how the curve of her shoulders has shifted, how she stands taller, how her face seems more open to the light. Something deeper than healing has occurred. This was not just a body mended, this was a soul restored. She moves slowly, as if savoring each step, like someone tasting freedom for the first time. You both pass a garden, small, tidy rows of herbs and wildflowers. She pauses, crouches, runs her fingers lightly across the lavender. She smiles. Not because she's forcing herself to feel happy, but because joy has returned to her like a long-lost friend. Not sudden and loud, but soft, like the morning sun breaking through a window. And now, for the first time in 12 years, she doesn't think about how to stay hidden. She doesn't scan for exits. She doesn't pull her shawl tighter around her face. She breathes deeply, letting the air move through her without pain, without fear. And you realize, this is what it means to be truly seen. To be called not by your sickness, but by your place in someone's heart. Daughter. That one word spoke what years of suffering tried to silence. You belong. You are part of something again. You are family, loved, whole. She walks through the village and people look, but now she meets their eyes. She isn't trying to prove anything. There's no announcement, no performance. But her presence speaks volumes. And some who knew her, who'd averted their eyes for years, now turn toward her, blinking in quiet awe. She passes two women at a well. One gasps, whispering her name. The other stares, her jaw half lowered. They remember, they see, they wonder. But she just nods, gently, and keeps walking. Because the healing wasn't just physical, and the miracle wasn't just the ending of pain. It was the breaking of the silence, the reclaiming of her name, the arrival of peace where shame once ruled. You walk with her as the sun dips lower. Children chase one another through narrow lanes. Goats bleat. Evening lamps begin to glow behind curtained doors. And the woman, no longer unnamed, no longer hidden, finds herself drawn toward a quiet grove. She sits beneath an olive tree, knees drawn up, arms around them, face turned skyward. You sit nearby, both of you wrapped in golden dusk. And now, with no one to press through, no crowd to part, no robe to reach for, she whispers his name again. Not as plea, not as wish, but as thanksgiving. Jesus. You wonder, how many others did he call daughter? How many hidden lives did he restore with a single word? And you remember, he didn't just stop for her. He turned for her. He spoke to her. He saw her. And he called her his. Peace isn't always found in still waters or quiet hills. Sometimes it finds you in the center of a crowd, when a heart that never stopped hoping finally dares to reach. And what a reach it was. She touched the edge of his robe and found herself fully known.
The silence after healing. The next morning, the world seems unchanged, and yet to her, everything feels reborn. Birdsong still rises over the rooftops. Vendors still call out prices. Children still chase one another through sunlit alleys. But within her, a stillness has taken root. Not emptiness, but peace. You walk with her again as she steps outside. There is no hiding now. No slow wait behind corners. No calculated glances to avoid the judgment of others. She walks into the morning like someone arriving home. It's almost strange how ordinary the day appears. No one heralds her miracle. No temple bells ring in celebration. The sky doesn't break into song. And yet, isn't this the greater wonder? That healing can be so quiet, so personal, that only your own soul hears the celebration? She runs her fingers along the wall near her gate, a wall she once leaned against while gasping through pain. Today, she touches it simply to feel the stone beneath her palm, to remind herself she's still here, still whole, still free. She goes to the well at mid-morning, not early, not hiding, when the other women are there. She joins the line. No one speaks at first. They glance her way, some cautious, others curious. And then, one woman steps forward, hands her the jar she was holding. A simple gesture, no words, but you feel it. Acceptance. Slow, tentative reconciliation. She takes the jar, fills it, smiles, and for the first time in what feels like forever, she stays a while. She listens to their stories, shares small laughter, mentions a recipe for lentils that her grandmother once taught her. No one asks what happened that day, not directly, but one woman leans in, softly, almost reverently. Was it true? Was it really him? The woman nods and places her hand gently over her chest. That's all she says. That's all she needs to say. You sense it then, a sacred kind of silence shared among those who believe, the kind of silence that holds awe. She returns home differently. She doesn't rush, doesn't retreat. The wind brushes lightly across her skin, and she allows herself a small, full smile. Inside, she sits by the window, not curled inward, not hidden in shadow. She opens the shutters wide and breathes. This quiet day after the miracle is its own kind of grace, because healing doesn't always lead to a parade. Sometimes it leads to a cup of water sipped slowly, to bread kneaded with patient hands, to walking through familiar paths without pain. She picks herbs from her garden, ties them into small bundles, hums softly as she works. The song is one she hasn't sung in years. You don't recognize the words. Maybe no one does anymore. But it rises from her like spring water returning to the surface. You sit with her as dusk approaches. A neighbor knocks softly on the door, an older woman needing help lifting a water jug. She answers, smiles, follows. No hesitation, no self-protection, just presence. As you walk back, the air carries the first scent of olive smoke and stew. Evening settles like a cloak over the rooftops. And you realize something profound. The miracle did not only happen when her bleeding stopped. It happened in every moment since. In each breath she took without fear. In each step she made without shame. Peace was not just granted, it was chosen again and again. And maybe that's what healing really looks like. Not always loud, not always witnessed, but true, quiet, holy, enduring. She lights her lamp as the stars begin to blink away, one small flame against the darkness. But isn't that always how it begins? The edge of the crowd was enough.
You sit beside her in the fading light, her lamp casting a warm circle on the clay floor. She's not speaking, but her silence is different now. It's not the kind that once wrapped her in sorrow. It's a silence full of reflection, soft like the hush of evening after a long-awaited rain. She holds a piece of fabric in her lap, simple, frayed at the edges, a shawl she once used to hide her face from the world. Now she folds it gently, presses it to her heart, and sets it aside. You wonder what she's thinking, but somehow you already know. She's remembering that moment, not the moment of healing alone, but the choice before it, the trembling risk of stepping into the crowd. Because that was where the miracle began, not in the touch itself, but in the decision to try, to hope, to move. She didn't demand his attention. She didn't cry out, didn't ask for permission. She reached, quietly, humbly, from the edge. And that was enough. You let the stillness of the room hold space for that truth. That sometimes you don't need to stand at the center. You don't need to shout the loudest. You just need to believe that even from the margins, God sees you. She never expected to be noticed. She just wanted to brush the fringe of something holy. And still, he turned. Still, he knew. Still, he called her daughter. You glance at her now, how her fingers rest calmly in her lap, how her breathing flows in gentle rhythm with the flickering light. And you ask yourself, what have I hesitated to reach for? What healing have I feared to seek simply because I thought I didn't belong at the center? She didn't wait to be invited. She didn't wait to be worthy. She moved with a faith so quiet it almost went unnoticed. Almost. But heaven noticed. Jesus noticed. And in turning toward her, he turned toward all of us who have ever felt unseen, unworthy, too broken to step forward. You feel that invitation linger in the air even now. To come as you are. To reach, not with perfection, but with faith. Even if all you can manage is the edge of his robe. She stands again, walks to the threshold of her home. The moon is full above the rooftops, and the village rests in calm and sleep. She doesn't step out this time. She simply watches, content, grounded. There is no urgency now, no ache to chase or silence to battle. There is only presence and gratitude. You listen to her heart speak through the quiet. He saw me. He heard me. He healed me. And more than that, he loved me. The crowd moved on. The road is empty now, but she remains, whole, seen, free. And you remain with her, in the stillness that holds more weight than the crowd ever did. At the edge of the moment, faith was enough.
Section 10. When hope walks beside you. The night deepens, but it does not feel heavy. You sit beside her in the quiet glow of the oil lamp, its flame dancing in the slow rhythm of her breathing. She doesn't speak, not out of hesitation, but because words are no longer necessary. Some truths settle best in silence. Hope, once distant and fragile, now walks beside her, not as something she chases, but something that has chosen to stay. She stands slowly and moves through her small home, touching the corner of the table, adjusting a clay jar, folding a cloth with care. Ordinary acts. But tonight, they are different, because she performs them not in weariness, but in restoration. Her limbs no longer tremble with pain. Her strength no longer leaks away like water through cracked stone. She is whole. And every act now, no matter how small, is a declaration of that truth. You follow her outside into the cool hush of midnight. The stars above shine clearer than you've ever seen. The village rests, wrapped in sleep. Even the animals have stilled. And beneath that vast sky, she does not feel small. She feels known. She remembers how far she's come, the years of hiding, of longing, of disappointment wrapped in prayer. And she remembers the risk. Because faith is never easy. It often comes clothed in risk, in vulnerability, in steps that make no sense to those watching from the outside. But hope had whispered that day, and she had listened. You wonder, what if she hadn't? What if she had stayed home, afraid of being seen, afraid of being shamed one more time? Would she still be whole? Would she still be here, under these stars, feeling peace soak into her bones? She looks at her hands, those same hands that reached forward, trembling, toward the hem of his robe. They look the same, but they carry something new. Confidence, memory, blessing. She closes her eyes and stretches her arms slightly to the sides, not in surrender, but in welcome. To the breeze, to the night, to the new life unfolding before her. It would be tempting to think the story ends here, in the healing, in the quiet victory. But healing, real healing, always begins a new story. One that continues long after the miracle. One that asks, how will you live now, beloved one, now that you are free? She turns back toward her home, and you walk beside her. There is no need to speak. The answer is already blooming in every step. She will live as one seen. She will live as one loved. She will live as one who once whispered his name in pain and now sings it in peace. Inside, she sits again by the window. The moonlight slips through the open shutters, casting soft shadows across the walls. She doesn't pray aloud, but you know she is praying. A prayer of thanks, a prayer of wonder, a prayer for the ones still reaching, still waiting at the edges of their own hope. You look at her and see it clearly. She is no longer the sick one, no longer hidden, no longer forgotten. She is daughter, she is healed, she is whole. And hope, gentle, faithful hope, walks beside her still. More than just eyes. He rises slowly, his hands pressed to his chest, as if steadying a heart that's just been given new rhythm. Jesus stands before him, no longer just a healer, but something deeper, something eternal. You walk beside them as they move through the quiet street, dust curling at their feet, shadows stretching long in the late afternoon light. Though no words are spoken for a while, the silence between them is full. Full of understanding, full of grace, full of a presence that says, you are not alone anymore. As they walk, people watch from thresholds, eyes wide, some with awe, some with fear. The man doesn't flinch. For the first time, he sees them seeing him, and it no longer crushes him. He is no longer that beggar, no longer the pitied one, the background figure in other people's stories. He is whole, and he knows it. Jesus glances toward him. The man meets his gaze easily now, not as a questioner, but as someone who has been answered. Then Jesus speaks, softly, but every syllable rings clear. You've been given sight, but let your eyes not only see light, let them seek truth. The man nods, not just out of agreement, but understanding. For he has begun to learn that sight, real sight, goes far beyond the surface. He remembers the days in darkness, how sharp his ears had become, how his hands had learned the shape of every wall, every path, every passing footfall. Now, with vision, he is not merely gaining, he is exchanging. The familiar world of sound and feel has become a realm of color and motion. It is overwhelming at times. He says as much, and Jesus smiles gently. There is no rush, he says. Vision unfolds slowly, like morning. You turn your face upward. The sky above is streaked with pink and amber, the kind of sky that feels like a whispered promise. You realize, Not all miracles are sudden. Some bloom over days, even years. What Jesus gave in one moment, the man will spend a lifetime receiving. They pass a fig tree, its branches heavy with fruit. The man touches a leaf, examining the veins that run like roads across its surface. "It's more than I imagined," he says, and then, after a pause, "Everything is." Jesus stops beside a stone well. He places a hand on its edge, then looks toward the man again. "Let your new eyes serve your new heart," he says. "See the poor, see the broken, see those still sitting in shadows, and remember them." The man nods again. "I will." And you know he means it. You can already see how he watches others, not just noticing, but recognizing, as if their pain speaks a language he remembers well. He kneels beside the well, scoops water into his hands, watches the way the sun dances across the surface. "This," he says softly, "is mercy." And it is. Not just water, not just healing, but mercy that met him when he could do nothing to earn it. You feel the emotion rise in him again, not the overwhelmed wonder of before, but something steadier: gratitude, purpose, peace. Jesus begins to walk once more. The man follows without hesitation. And you know he is not just following out of gratitude. He is following because he believes. Because the one who opened his eyes has also opened his soul. You glance at the man one more time as the road stretches ahead. He is not the same as he was hours ago, and yet he is more himself than ever before. That is the beauty of what Christ gives. He does not erase us. He restores us. He does not replace our stories. He redeems them. And the man once known only by his lack now walks in fullness, with sight, with faith, with joy that sees farther than the eye ever could.